Welcome to another podcast episode. I was doing really well this week, considering the fact that I've been away. I finished two things. One of them I only cast on last week and knitted in the car on the way to Yorkshire. I've got two other projects which I was really desperate to try and finish this week. I'm so close, and I was considering putting off recording this till tomorrow because I think I can get them both done today. But it's Thursday today, and I don't like to record the podcast, edit it, and try and upload it on the same day. And tomorrow is Friday when this podcast needs to be out in the afternoon. So I thought I'll record it today. And then I'll have to show you these two finished projects next week. At least it means I'll have something finished next week as well, which will be good. So today I'm going to talk about what I've got on the needles, what I finished, what I've nearly finished, and how Harrogate Knit and Stitch Show went. And a few of the things that are coming up and plans for Vlogmas, which starts next week. So I hope you enjoy today's video. If you're new here, my name is Anniken. I design knitting patterns. I teach knitting workshops online and in person, and I sell yarn through my website, YarnAddict.co.uk. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. Last week I didn't do a podcast because I was just too busy getting ready for the Harrogate Knit and Stitch Show, and I also had a video I recorded about yarn on the go at Oslo Airport. So I released that last Thursday. So if you haven't seen that, do go and check out what an airport yarn shop looks like. When we come back at the end of December, we have an evening flight, and I don't think they'll be open unless we get to the airport like 5 hours early, which is ridiculous. This may be may have been my only chance to shop at Yarn on the Go, but it's a really nice yarn shop. It's bigger than a lot of British yarn shops I've been in, considering the fact that it's an airport pop-up shop. But I'm hoping they'll be back. I know that spot in the airport tends to have temporary shops, so I don't know whether they can extend it. I hope it's been successful for them and they can come back or even make it permanent. That would be fantastic. But if you haven't watched that video, do go and check it out. And I also share what I bought at Oslo Airport, Yarn on the Go. And I also talked about two of my yarn shopping vlogs in Oslo. I did one beginning of this year in February, and I did one 2 years ago. So there's one from 2025 and one from 2023. So if you haven't watched those, they're linked in the notes of the Yarn on the Go video, or just search my channel for it. And then on Tuesday, I did my Game of Wool recap, review, my opinions. I didn't actually mind last week's episode. I only watched it on Monday because we were travelling back from Yorkshire on Sunday evening. And I didn't mind it. I thought the projects were okay. At least their main project was okay. But obviously, knitters are enraged by the fact that it's called, they're looking for Britain's best knitter, and yet they were crocheting. And that Tom Daly kept referring to the knitters when they were crocheting. I don't understand the controversy between knitting and crochet, but there definitely is, and I have a video on that as well from earlier this year or last year or something. So if I remember, I'll link it below, but if not, you can just search my channel for it. It's called Knitting versus Crochet. I don't know, but there's a lot of tension between knitting and crochet, and I don't really get it. Let's talk about what I've been knitting. So let's start with the first project I finished. So 2 weeks ago when I filmed the podcast, I had 6 projects. One of them I haven't touched. 2 of them I haven't touched. One of them I said I probably wouldn't be touching for a while. That's a stranded colorwork cowl, and I've just done the rib. I'm thinking about making that my travel project for when I go to Norway, but I'm not sure because it's not going to be that easy to knit on in the car because it's stranded colorwork. And also on the plane, I need to look at the chart and things, so I'm not sure. I do also have a yarn, boucle yarn. I got 2 skeins of boucle actually from 2 different indie dyes that I really, really like, and I don't quite know what to do with. And I'm thinking about doing another Mobius cowl with those. So one of the workshops I was teaching at the Knit and Stitch Show in Harrogate was my Mobius workshop, and it's based on this, or we were knitting this. We started this project. I'm not going to put it on because it will interfere with my mic, but this was knitted in I think it's the Discreet Unicorn Sparkly Merino DK. I'm not sure what it's called. She's actually just closed her online dyeing business, unfortunately, which is a shame because she does amazing colours. Luckily, I do have some of her yarns in my stash, so that's okay. So this is quite a simple Mobius cowl. So you start with the Mobius cast on, which means you cast on in the middle here, and then you knit in both directions at the same time. So you're knitting around 2 loops. It's really interesting. It's the cast on is challenging, and I chose to do that as a 2-hour project workshop at Knit and Stitch Show in Harrogate. It's my first time teaching at the Knit and Stitch Shows, and I learned a lot. I'm also teaching at the Stitch Festival in March, so let me just tell you about that quickly, because the details of that have just gone up, so they are available to book now. I will link it below. So in March at the Stitch Festival in London, it's near, I can't remember what the place called, it's a Business Design Centre or something like that. I think it's the one that's near the Angel Tube Station, which means it's also near Loop Yarn Shop in London. And I do have a couple of quite long breaks, and I think it's probably like 5-10 minutes walk from Loop, so I might pop over there while on my afternoon breaks. So I am teaching on the 19th, 20th and 21st at the Stitch Festival. On the 20th I am teaching seaming knitted fabric, which I also did at Knit and Stitch Show. That's an hour, so that's learning how to do mattress stitch. And then I'm teaching Intarsia colorwork, which is a 2-hour workshop, so you learn how to do Intarsia colorwork. Then on the Saturday I'm teaching Continental knitting, which I also did at Harrogate, and I taught it twice. My first one was completely full, and the second one was nearly full. There was only 2 spaces left, so I'm hoping that is likely to sell out, so do go and check that out if you're interested. So that's on the Saturday. And then I'm doing Filet crochet in the afternoon. Filet crochet, here's an example I've crocheted up in DK wool, especially like a picture knit, so you use open and closed spaces to create designs. I also have a design that's a little bit more complicated than that. And then I forgot, on the Thursday the 19th I'm also teaching Filet crochet, so that's 2-hour workshop. You do need to be able to crochet, so you need to be able to do chains and UK doubles and trebles to be able to do that workshop. So I'm doing that on the Thursday, Continental knitting for an hour, and then in the afternoon. So those are both morning workshops. So I'll be finished about like 11:30. Then I don't have a workshop till 4:15 in the afternoon. Means I'll be able to look around the show, so that's good. Which is button bands and 1-row buttonholes. I'm going to teach you how to pick up for a button band or neckline or anything like that, picking up stitches, and then we're going to do a 1-row buttonhole. So Friday, I'm teaching there Thursday, Friday and Saturday. I do have some more breaks in between classes and that event, so I'm hoping I'll be able to have a look around and that kind of thing. I'm also teaching at Black Sheep Wools in January, March and April. Some of those are fully booked. Last time I looked, I think the March ones both have spaces. So I'm teaching a beaded lace headband. So if you want to learn how to add beads, how to knit lace, all that kind of stuff, perfect. We'll start the beaded lace headband, my Flora headband. And then on the Saturday, 14th of March, I'm teaching my brioche improvers workshop. So if you've done basic 2-color brioche, you'll be fine doing this. If you've done 2-color brioche, but it's a while ago and you may have forgotten it because you haven't been practicing, that's also fine, because the project we're doing, the start of it is just like 10 rows or so with basic 2-color brioche. So if you've done it before, by the end of those 10 rows you'll be in the swing of things again, and if you don't, then I will help you make sure you get there. So if you've done it before, you can do that workshop. And then in April 24th and 25th I'm teaching Filet crochet again as a full day workshop. So we'll work on one of my new Filet crochet designs, which I'm working on at the moment, and then Orenburg lace knitting on the Saturday, which I think may be fully booked. So that's all that's happening, or some of the things that are happening in the new year. This weekend, Sunday, maybe fully booked, I'm teaching my Fair Isle Australian Colourwork Colour Clutch at Brixham Sewing Box. Next Sunday, on the 7th of December, I'm teaching finishing techniques at the Brixham Sewing Box in South Devon, in Brixham, near Torquay. And then on the 9th of December, I'm teaching my hot water bottle workshop, which is also stranded colourwork. I'll pop a picture up at Spinning Yarn in Bobby Tracy in Devon, just south of Exeter. And then the week after that, I go to Norway. Those workshops are linked below, including the Stitch Festival one. So back to what I was talking about. So I'd done this, but it's a while ago. So I thought I need to just kind of go through the cast on instructions again, just to refresh my memory, because it's been a while since I've done a Mobius. And then I thought I really fancy knitting a Mobius in the yarn that I sell, because I don't sell this yarn. So I got a skein of the Nipro Symphony Viva DK, I think it is. And I cast this on Tuesday last week, I think it was. I cast on, I did the first round, because once you cast on, you really need to do a full round to kind of secure your stitches. So I did that, and then I did all the rest on Thursday. Did most of it, did probably about 80% of it when we were driving up to Yorkshire. Simon did most of the driving. I only did about an hour and a half, maybe. And then when we got to the hotel, we went for dinner, and I took this with me to dinner and carried on, and because I knew I was so close to finishing. And then I sat and did it on the bed in the hotel in the evening, and I probably went to bed a little bit late because I wanted to finish it. And it's got a picot cast off, and that does take a long time. So this is my Sangria cowl, Mobius cowl. It's available on Payhip and Ravelry. One thing I need to tell you about when it comes to my patterns is that I'm taking part in the Fasten Off Yarnalong. So I'm taking part in the Fasten Off Yarnalong. I think I've taken part every year. I can't remember how many years it's been running now. But basically, you get 25% off patterns for the participating designers. I've chosen for all my patterns on Ravelry and Payhip to be part of the discount. Some people may restrict you to certain patterns. That depends. So I'll put my Fasten Off Yarnalong page below, and then I will also link my Ravelry and Payhip pattern shops, and also the discount code and everything is down below. So the way it works is that the discount period runs until the end of the 4th of December, I think it is, but details are down below. So you can buy patterns at 25% off using the code, which will also be in the description below. And then after that, there's a period of make along, so you can knit or crochet whatever pattern you bought. And I think there's a Discord group server, whatever it's called, and where you can chat about stuff. And there's various designer events. There's prizes to be won. There's all kinds of stuff. So I'll link the Fasten Off Yarnalong page below, and the discount page, and my pattern shops and all that stuff. So do go and check that out if you're interested. So if you fancy knitting yourself a Sangria cowl, then go ahead and do that. Like, this pink one has been blocked, the purple one hasn't, so you can see it will grow a little bit once I blocked it. So I need to do that this afternoon because I haven't got around to it since I came home. I'm nearly finished is the socks I've had on the needles. I can't remember when I started these, but I finished one. So I'm doing an afterthought heel on these, but I didn't put the waist yarn in for the afterthought heel. So normally when I do an afterthought heel, I'll decide where the heel goes, and then I'll knit half a row in a waist yarn, and then I'll unpick that waist yarn and knit in the afterthought heel. I've used my Aventuras pattern, which is toe up, top down, with the choice of 2 toes and 2 afterthought heels. And I knitted this from the top down. And I wasn't sure whether this green bit would repeat again, or whether I would need to put the heel in this green bit. So basically that's what I've done. I put the heel, so I start with the green, heels in the green, and the toes in the green. End up with a little bit of blue on the tip there. I was trying to knit this to the same number of rows. So color-wise, I managed to match the colors, the stripes, really, really well, which is unusual for me, because even when I have like 2 identical balls, they don't always match 100%. But I counted the number of rows on this from the rib to the toe. I did the same on this, and then started the toe, and I ended up with the green running out too early. So I went back and did 2 rows, I think, and that was clearly too much, because I ended up with just a little dot of blue, whereas this one's got a bit more blue. So this one might be a couple of rows shorter, I don't know, but I got to the point where I thought, I'm not ripping that out again, so it's going to be on my feet, nobody's going to see it. So I've done the afterthought heel on this one, and I filmed it as a tutorial, so that will be up soon. I need to edit it and everything. I also have a dropped stitch here, which I discovered at some point. I think Did I start knitting this at the cinema or something? I don't know. So I thought I'd also do a video where I show you how I fixed that, considering the fact I dropped it and noticed it many weeks later. So I'll do another tutorial on that, and then I was going to use this sock to actually try and film a reel for how I do the afterthought heel. So I need to do that, try and do that today or tomorrow. That is where I was the last time I talked about it on the podcast. I basically finished that and knitted the heel on that one. So the only reason this isn't finished is because I want to film myself doing the second heel, which I'll try and do probably not today, probably tomorrow. The other reason I haven't gotten around to doing that sock yet is because I was also trying to finish this mohair top. So this is the yarn. It's a Norwegian yarn. I don't think I've got any labels here. Norwegian yarn I got on the sale when I went to Norway in May, and I left it in Norway thinking I'll knit this up next time I go. July, it was just way too hot. It was 30 degrees the whole time I was there. So I thought, I'm not knitting mohair in 30 degrees. So I left it, and then when I went last time at the end of October, I cast on for this, and I'd hoped to finish it because it's not really that much knitting. Well, it is, but I should have been able to finish it, but I didn't. So it's a sleeveless top. I have finished the whole body except for I've decided to do a split hem. So the front rib I've done, and then the back rib I have nearly done. I did 10 rows on the front rib, and I'm going to do, I think, 20 rows on the back rib, and I've done 12. So I should be able to finish that rib today. On the front, I don't know if you can see this on here, but I did an Icelandic cast off, which is nice and stretchy, which I think I have a tutorial on. And then I need to pick up stitches for the neckline. Neckline looks a bit big, and the armhole, I'm a little bit worried that the armholes are a little bit too big. So I'm going to try it on. I wanted to make sure I could wear it with one of I have a pink linen shirt, and I wanted to be able to wear it with that. So, and the sleeves on that is quite big. So I wanted the armholes a bit bigger, but I think it might be a little bit too big. So once I've finished the body and the neckline, I'm going to try it on with that pink shirt, and then do the armhole. If the armhole's a little bit too big, you can pick up just slightly few stitches to pull it in a little bit. You got to be careful, because if you pick up far too few stitches, it'll pull it in too much and it'll look a bit distorted. You can pull it in a little bit. Same thing with the neckline. So I'm hoping to finish this maybe today. I might have finished it last night, but I was out a lot yesterday. I was out in the morning for Pilates, and I was out in the afternoon for a massage, and then we went out in the evening to go shopping and have a meal out with my father-in-law. So I wasn't home a lot yesterday, so I didn't get as much knitting time as normal. So I'm hoping my knitting time this afternoon and this evening I'll be able to finish this. So hopefully I'll be able to show you the finished project next week. I went to put it on the floor and I dropped it. Okay, what else have we got? So I've done a little bit of work on my crochet project. I would like to finish this before I go to Norway, but I don't know. I have one deadline project, which I'm still waiting for the yarn for, and it's due on Monday, so obviously that's not going to happen. So I need to contact the editor today and say I need the yarn early next week, or I won't get it done before I go to Norway. But that needs to get done as soon as possible. Once the yarn arrives, that has to be my priority. But it is colour work, and I can't do colour work non-stop without a break. And then I have two deadlines in the middle of January. One of them I'm hoping one of my sample knitters will be able to do. So I need to sort that out this week. Yarn hasn't arrived yet for that. And then there's another one which yarn has arrived, which I'm going to knit myself. But I don't want to take it to Norway because it'll be quite a big project. So I want to start it and get going on it before I go to Norway, and then pick it up again when I get back from Norway. When I get back from Norway, I'll have 2 weeks to finish it, so that should be fine. But I want to get started before I go. So I'm going to try and wind the yarn tomorrow and knit the swatch over the weekend, and then write a pattern and get started on it next week. So that will reduce my time to work on other things. So this is my crochet project. I've done a little bit since last week, but not a lot. So I think last week I was, hang on, how can I show this? I think last week when I showed this, I'd done down to the underarms. So if you look at the back here, can you see the bit I've done kind of from here? That's all I've done. So this section here, so I've done 2, 4, 6, 8, about 10 rows or 10 repeats. So not a lot really, but once I finish the mohair sweater, this might see a bit more action. So I'm probably at the same point in this one and my other project when it comes to terms of how much knitting or crochet I've left to do. And I want to finish one of them before I go to Norway. I'd like to finish both of them really, but I don't think that's going to happen. So it depends on what I fancy doing the most, crochet or knitting. So, haven't done any work on this since last time, or have I? I do have a marker in here. I don't know. But what I'm going to do is measure this when I get downstairs this afternoon and decide whether I'm going to try and finish that before I go to Norway. So I need to finish the body and do the sleeves. I think I can finish either that one or the crochet one. I don't think I can do both. So I need to really decide which one I want to finish. But I don't know. And then one finished project, which I haven't shown you, almost forgot, is my new hat. This is using my Cornwall pattern. And last week I was there. So I've knitted the rest of this. Knitted this at the knitting session in Harrogate. And maybe a little bit in the hotel, I can't remember. So I've taken the marker out. Now this is my Cornwall pattern, but my pattern is written for a 4-ply yarn. Now I used a yarn that's thinner than a 4-ply yarn. I used Concept by Katja, Atenia, extra fine merino wool and cashmere, except it's actually 42% wool, 40% cotton and 18% cashmere, and it's 25 grams per ball, and it has 175 meters per ball, so it's a lot thinner than a 4-ply yarn. I use the same needle size I used for the 4-ply Cornwall hat and the same number of stitches. I actually originally increased to, because you start on 1 crown, it's like a double sided hat, so you start here, increase, and originally I increased for the largest size, a size bigger than what I would normally use. And then I thought it looks a bit big, so I decreased. I didn't bother going back. I just decreased over 2 rounds. So I got back to the number of stitches I've done my other hats on. But this one is bigger. I will get a picture with one of my other ones, which is downstairs, and I forgot to bring it up with me. I can wear it, but it definitely feels a bit loose. So I had hoped it would be a little bit snugger, but it's fine. But it does feel a bit loose. It doesn't kind of hug my head. And I'm surprised because the yarn's thinner. I use the same needle size and the same number of stitches. So I would have thought it would end up the same size or a little bit thinner, but it hasn't. And I think the reason for that is that maybe it's because of the cotton in the yarn. I don't know. But I think the main reason for that probably is the fact that it's knitted at a looser tension. Looser tension can stretch a bit more, although I can get it on without stretching it at all. I was trying to find a yarn that would match my fairy tale brioche scarf. This doesn't match completely, but it was the closest I could find. So when I went to Norway last time, a couple of days after I arrived, I wanted to go to the cinema. So I popped into the local yarn shop because the project I had with me, it's a mohair sweater, mohair vest that I started. And I wasn't at a point where that would make easy cinema knitting. So I popped into my mum's local yarn shop to see if they had any 4-ply yarn. I found actually a Regia sock yarn, which was almost a perfect shade of purple to match my scarf. But I needed 2 balls and I only had 1. So I looked at this, and the good thing with this is it's a little bit thinner. I do get quite warm, and I don't wear hats that often, but I'm more likely to wear it in Norway than here because obviously it gets colder in Norway. So, but I thought having a slightly thinner one might work well because it won't get too hot. So I decided to give this a go. I basically cast on for the hat at my parents in the morning, knitted as much of the increases as I could. Then I went to the shopping centre near where the cinema is, had a look around some shops, and then went and sat in the coffee shop till the cinema was due to start so I could try and get through all the increases. And I was 1 round off finishing the increases when I went to the cinema. And if I decided to go for the stitch count I had on my previous one, I would have been fine. But I went for the next size up, which meant 1 more increase round, which I then decreased back again because I thought it was going to be too big. But I don't think that makes much difference to the size because I didn't knit that much at the cinema. And then I've been knitting on the rest of it since, on and off. I was trying to finish it coming back from Norway, but obviously I didn't get it done. So I've now got it finished, ready for going to Norway in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I am a bit surprised it's a little bit big. I haven't washed it yet, so I'm going to try and wash it and see if that will shrink it down a little bit. It might do. I like it. I think it looks really good. Obviously, because it's knitted at a little bit of a loose gauge, it is a bit, it's not as even a stocking stitch as you would get if I knitted it on smaller needles. I was knitting on 3mm needles, I think it was, because I think that's what I used for the pattern. And maybe I should have gone down to 2.75 or 2.5, but I didn't really want to. So, but it's done, and it's definitely wearable. So I'm fairly happy with that. Okay, I probably should have kept that on. Right, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to fasten off Yarnalong 25% off all my patterns on Ravelry and PayHip. The code is below, plus all the links that you need. And check out the Stitch Festival workshops, Black Sheep Wool workshops, the Spinner Yarn and Brixton Sewing Box workshops in Devon, and all my social media links, signing up to my newsletter, all that is below. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.